I'm Dr. Robert Davis, family life educator and relationship coach, and welcome to UnBoxed, a frank and straightforward conversation about relationships. We're going to talk about family, church, workplace, and all other types of relationships. Join me for the next few moments as we unbox the power and potential of relationships and help you to live your best life. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Robert Davis. I want to welcome you back to another episode of UnBoxed, where we seek to unbox the power and potential of all relationships. We mean family relationships, church families we'll talk about today, your workplace relationships, your social organizations, relationships with your neighbors and people within the community. We want to talk about how to discover and to unpack the power and the potential of all relationships. So I want you to like, subscribe, and share our information. Like, subscribe, and share. And also, if you want to, you can make a tax-deductible donation to Season with Grace Unboxed. The information is in the links and information are in the information section. I'm still learning all the different names and stuff that you call the various parts of Facebook and YouTube. So bear with me, but all the information is right there. Just click on it and become a part of this wonderful team that we are building up here. Yesterday, we had a question that came in from a gentleman by the name of Alex. Alex shared with us some concerns that he had relative to relationships with his pastor, and we're going to get into that more in just a second. But again, I want you to like, subscribe, and share. Share this information with your friends. I wanted to go back and dig a little deeper into Alex's question and to share with you some additional things. Yesterday, we talked about one aspect of the problem, and today I want us to dig a little deeper into the whole situation, and I hope that this information is valuable to you because, unfortunately, there are many people who are having challenges within their churches and who have had challenges. So let me read Alex's question one more time, and then we're going to get right into it. Alex is from Illinois, and he asked, I am a member of a church of about 100 attending each week. Our pastor has been at the church for a little over 2 years, and he has to have everything his way. He is a dictator. Not only that, but he lies whenever he's backed into a corner. I've tried talking to the pastor, but he finds a way to flip everything back on whoever confronts him. I've been a member all my life, and I don't want to leave my church, but I can't stand how things are going. What can I do before I lose my sanity? And yesterday I shared to learn the serenity prayer. And this is kind of like the heart of what we're talking about here. And one of the ways that we help you to unbox the power and the potential of all relationships. It's the serenity prayer. And here's what the serenity prayer says. This is Serenity Prayer 2.0. It's what I use in my addiction recovery classes. And it just simply says, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept that I cannot change people, courage to change the only person I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Lord, grant me the serenity to accept that I cannot change people, courage to change the only person I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I want to do something. I want to tell you about a book that I just had the privilege and the opportunity of producing. It's called Season with Grace, Season with Grace, not Unboxed, sorry. Season with Grace, God's Recipe for Healthy Family Communication. And to read it. And I believe that it will be a great benefit for you and your family. Grab a copy and read it. It'll be a benefit for you and your family. So let's go back to Alex. Again, like, subscribe, and share. Let's go back to Alex. Yesterday, when I was talking to Alex, I told him that he needs to understand his pastor. And I spent a lot of time talking about understanding his pastor because one of the things you'll understand about people is that people respond to stress and anxiety according to how their emotional computer has been pre-programmed through life from when we're in our mother's womb to when we're born, to the neighborhood we're raised in, to how our family interacts. All of that stuff writes on our emotional computer, our psychological computer, how we're supposed to respond in different circumstances. So what you're seeing with your pastor, what you're seeing when you're in relationship with me, is me living out how my computer was programmed from the day that I was born. And so I want you to first take that understanding that, he's not an evil person, a bad person. He is simply living out the way that his computer was programmed. The second thing I share with you about understanding your pastor is that the pastor is operating in the church's system. In other words, the pastor is operating based on how the church has organized itself. And that's just the way that it works on workplaces, the way that it works in churches, the way that it works within families. We operate based on how the system is organized. And I read something. I've been reading a lot of stuff on this, and one of the things I came across, and I don't know why my mind just went blank right then, but it'll come back to me, the author that I like for you to look into. But I want to share this with you. Often churches, families, and workplaces organize themselves to accommodate the most immature person. And by the way, a lot of what I'm sharing with you comes from the thinking and the research of a gentleman by the name of Edwin Friedman, especially when it comes to churches. If you want to understand why churches act the way they do, there are two people I encourage you to look into. Edwin Friedman and his disciple was a gentleman by the name of Peter Stanke, wonderful writers on this subject, about how often churches, and I think this is what you're seeing, Alex, often churches will organize themselves to accommodate the most immature person. And we have kind of like a little cliche of how we say it. It's very popular. What is it? The squeaky wheel is the one that gets the oil. But in reality, all the wheels need to get the oil. So it shouldn't be the person that's willing to make the biggest scene. It shouldn't be. But reality is, churches, families, workplaces, they are organized themselves to accommodate the most immature person. So I talked a lot about understanding your church system, understanding your pastor yesterday. Now what I want to do is I want to share just a few minutes. I want to talk to you for just a few minutes and share what you can do, Alex, in that situation where you have a pastor who comes across as a dictator, who appears or has been caught to be dishonest when their back is against the wall. This is what I want to talk about, what you can do. Again, like, subscribe, share, and if you want to, be sure to donate or visit our website, of course, www.swg-unboxed.org. Okay, Alex, here's what you can do. And I shared this yesterday, but I want to go a little deeper into it. And that is, be the best possible you. And oftentimes we think about the other person and how the other person is operating, and our focus becomes on the other person rather than focusing on who we are. And I want to give you a little analogy to help you to understand why that's so dangerous and why that's so counterproductive. What we want to do, and this is what I'm encouraging you to do, is to step back and to take a big picture look. So if someone takes a painting and sticks it right up on my face, and I mean, it's a huge painting, but they stick it right up on my face. They say, okay, what do you see? And I'm saying, all I can see is this red. I can just see this big red blob. And that's all I can see when it's smashed against my face like this. But if you pull the painting back, then I can see all the beautiful colors, and I can see what the painting, the picture is really depicting. And so the more emotionally enmeshed you are in this situation and with the pastor, well, I don't have nothing to do with him. Yes, you may not have nothing to do with him so far as speaking and interactions, but you have a lot to do with him so far as his having an emotional sway over you because you're enmeshed. I want to ask you to pull back. And by pulling back, one of the things that happens is we begin to see the big picture, gives us a better understanding, as we talked about yesterday, gives a better understanding of the person that we're interacting with. But it also helps us to see what we are doing. So when it's smashed up like this, all I can see is a little red dot. But when I pull back here, I can kind of get a better sense of where I am in this situation. I can get a better sense of who they are in the big picture. And I really want you to pray, to think, and to begin being intentional about trying to see the big picture. Now, I'm going to share with you a couple of techniques. And I don't do a lot of techniques in my teaching because oftentimes we want to learn if I do 1, 2, 3, then the other person will change. So how do I get my wife to, be more sexual with me? How do I get my husband to be more attentive? All right, do this, do that, do the other. And what that turns into is manipulation. And let me share something with you. No one likes to be manipulated. You don't like to be manipulated. And people are not as dumb as I look. People can pick up on when they are being manipulated. So, and when people realize that they're being manipulated, there's a natural tendency to push back on that. So you want to be authentic and genuine. And the stuff that you're learning is not so that you can manipulate the pastor into being who you think he ought to be, but rather so that you can ultimately be the best who you're supposed to be. It's not to manipulate him, but for you to be the best that you can be. So here's a couple of things that I want to encourage you to do. One, I want you to establish a relationship with the pastor. And I'm not talking about establish a relationship with the pastor, again, so that you can be in a place to tell him what his faults and stuff are. I'm talking about being in a relationship with him for the sake of being in a relationship with him. Each of us have friends, each of us have family members, etc., that we enjoy, not because of what they own or what they can do for us, etc. We love them just because of who they are. That's what I really gained from watching Mr. Rogers as a kid. And just between the two of us, here's our big secret. Watching Mr. Rogers as an adult is, I love you because I love you. It's you I like. It's you I like. It's you I like. And so I encourage you to establish a relationship with your pastor just for the sake of having a relationship with him. The second thing, and this is where it's going to take a high level of maturity and intentionality on your part, and that is to speak the truth in love. Now, what does that mean? Speak the truth in love. A person who is mature is able to say, this is what I think, this is what I believe, this is what I want. And they're able to state that in a very clear, articulate fashion. And the less clear that you're able to articulate it, again, that means that you're too enmeshed, that the thing is too close up on you. But the more you're able to gain perspective and to be calmer in your interactions. So I want you to gain a relationship with him. That's number one, gain the relationship with him. The second thing again is speak the truth in love. This is some of the things that concern me. This is what I think you're doing or not doing. This is what I would do. This is how I believe things should go. Again, just to speak it. Now, here's the catch, the flip side of that. This is still under number 2 about establishing a relationship. And that is, the more you are emotionally mature, the more you can listen to his thoughts, his views, without becoming emotional. The more you're emotionally mature, the more you can listen to his views and thoughts about becoming emotional. The second thing is, the more you can speak your truth without being afraid of the consequences, because some leaders, and I don't just want to say pastors, it's a leadership thing. Some leaders can be quite manipulative. And so what they'll do is pit people against each other. You will share things with them, and then you'll hear it again in the message. You'll share things with them, and then they'll go and tell other people, and they'll twist your words and your thoughts in such a way as to present you in a very negative light. You know what? You speak the truth. You speak it in love. You don't try to manipulate. You just share the facts of who you are, what you believe, what you think, and your opinion, etc. And then let the consequences be what they must be and what they will be. The point is, you be the best that you can be. You grow yourself up, which is another book I would encourage you to read. It's called Growing Up a Self. You grow yourself up and be the best person that you can be. So establish a relationship with the pastor and speak the truth in love. And here's the last thing that I want to share with you before we close. And this was a pretty lengthy broadcast tonight, so thank you for your patience. And that is this: affirm the pastor. And I'm not talking, again, this is not a manipulation tool. So I want to tell you this: affirm the pastor to yourself. Going back to that analogy, the closer you are, the less you can see of the positive traits that he or she may have. Pull back and look at the big picture. Humans are very complex creatures. Matter of fact, I would state that humans are the most complex of all creatures. And I want you to understand this, that humans are very complex. So affirm the pastor to yourself. Observe your pastor. Interact with your pastor, meaning establish a relationship. Speak and share your truth with your pastor. And then affirm him. In other words, to yourself. First and foremost, to yourself. You know what? I have to admit, he's a good speaker. Or I have to admit, he tells good jokes. Or no one is 100% negative. If nothing else, at least he has been able to maintain a job there at the church. If nothing else, at least he shows up each week. At least, if you say that he's a dictator, that means that he's engaged in what the church does. So at least he is engaged and involved in the church. There's some good stuff to see in every human being. And remind yourself of this. Remind yourself that here are the positive things about this individual. Speak positively about him or her to other people. Because I know what's happening. Folk are coming to you. If you feel that he or she is a dictator, if you feel that he or she lies when their back is against the wall, I can guarantee there's others that are commiserating with you. So try to affirm the pastor to those individuals. And then as much as possible, without going into the flattery or trying to manipulate them through flattery. That's one of the things that people used to try to do with Jesus all the time. They would try to manipulate him with flattery. Oh, we know that you are a rabbi. You are sent from God and no man can. No, not all of that stuff. We ain't trying to manipulate no one. Just simply affirming the individual so that you can have a clearer perspective of who they are, so that you can ultimately be the best that you can be. Listen, we're going into the weekend, and so this broadcast was a lot lengthier than we normally do, but I think we share some very good information. I want to encourage you to continue to send in your questions. You can email us at info@swg-unboxed.org. Or, of course, you can direct message your questions to me. I'd appreciate that. Don't put them in the chat. I much prefer a direct message, unless you want to, and I'll go through it. But sometimes I miss stuff that comes in through the chat. But other than that, I want to thank Pastor Eichner and his wife for joining in with us tonight, and all the others who have tuned in as well. And I look forward to seeing you again. Again, we want to, this is Unboxed, and our purpose is to help you to unbox the power and the potential of our relationships. You have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you this coming Monday. You take care now.
Seasoned with Grace, Unboxed also provides healthy relationship training and leadership development for businesses, churches, and community organizations. For a free consultation to discuss your team's needs, please contact us at our website at swg-unboxed.org. That's swg-unboxed.org.